Hi YouTube. So I was in the market for a new iPhone, and after going through my research on the various models still available from Apple, I opted for this iPhone 13 as I felt this is the better value package. So if you are somebody who bases purchase decisions on value, this video is for you. Okay, so before we discuss specs and other details, let's do a quick unboxing. So this comes in this box. I'm going to put the details on your screen so you can read the features. But basically, at a high level, this is a iPhone 13 designed in the US and California, assembled in India. Usually iPhones are from China. This one happens to be in India. And down below, you can see this is a 128 gig model, midnight color. And then here's the model A2482. So now let's quickly unbox this and see what are the contents. So all we need to do now is pull on this tab. And there's a tab down below. Unpacking Apple products is a real pleasure. So once you have done that, you can take out the box and you can see the phone right there. This is the midnight color, so it's a grayish, bluish hue on it, but more grayish. And then if I take it out, and you'll see there's a lot of reflection because it's all glass at the rear. It has the dual cameras, and then there's this paper sticking point. So we'll talk about the details. I'm going to put the phone aside for a moment, and in the box here is the Lightning power cable, and then it also has this little box which contains some documentation and the pin to put the SIM card, the usual Apple sticker, and nothing too spectacular. So I'm gonna put this aside, and that's it. That's all that comes out of the box. So really it's the phone and the charging cable, and this one is a Lightning. And so next is, so let's take a quick look at this power cable. So obviously on the one end it's Lightning, and on the other it's a USB-C. It doesn't come with a power brick, so you'll have to use another power brick, purchase separately or use one you have lying around or something. So that's about the power cable. And as far as the phone itself is concerned, this paper thingy basically tells you this button is the main power on button. Here is your ringer on or off, and you can toggle it up or down. And here are your volume buttons. And at the bottom is your familiar Lightning port. Okay, so to assess value of this phone, I'm gonna benchmark this against the iPhone 15 and not the iPhone 15 Pro, since this is not the Pro model of the 13 either. And we are going to use the 128 gig model and not the higher spec ones, since more memory basically costs more money. And in Apple's case, it's in my opinion a lot more money than it should be. So that's the benchmarking for the rest of this video. So the first thing worth mentioning is the price. So this iPhone 13 from Apple right now will cost you about $599. This is in February of 2024. And if you do end up purchasing the phone in an installment plan, like through Verizon or T-Mobile or someplace like that, then they'll probably give you the phone for $0 down, and you'll basically pay off the value of the phone over your installment. So it works out very inexpensive in an installment plan like that. But if you were to purchase it outright, it's about $599. Now compare that to a iPhone 15, which is going to cost you $799 for the 128 gig model, like I said. So you have a substantial difference between the two, $599 and $799. So price-wise, obviously you're paying a lot less. So physically, you're not going to find a lot of difference between the iPhone 15 and the iPhone 13. They're pretty much identical to look at. They even have the same dual camera lens back there. It's a glass body on the back, and it's the same physical dimensions that you're going to find on both phones. So so if you're holding it next to each other, just by looking at it on one glance, you can't really tell the difference. So that's the first thing I want to mention. As far as the glass is concerned, this is a 6.1-inch display from this corner to that. And that's the same thing you're going to find in the iPhone 15 as well. Besides this, it's a ceramic glass, which is really the ceramic shield glass, as Apple calls it, which is identical between the iPhone 15 and the 13. And then you will also find the aluminum body, which is this stuff on the sides. This is similar as well. They both have the glass at the back, so there's no difference there. And as far as the physical makeup, like I said, is very, very similar. So let's get through some of the other similarities between the two phones. Both of these phones will support Face ID, and they will also be 5G rated, so you won't have any problems with your provider. So they're both 5G rated, and then it also has the same IP68 rating as far as water resistance is concerned, or dust resistance. Both these phones are 6 meters for 30 minutes rated, that is IP68. And then as far as MagSafe compatibility is concerned, which is the ability to charge the phone using a magnetic device at the back, which is MagSafe, is provided on both phones. So you won't have any difference in charging that way. The other key similarity is the 12 megapixel front camera, which is right at the top here. They're both 12 megapixel. So in terms of doing a FaceTime, things of that nature, it's going to be a very similar or identical experience. And they both support the Wi-Fi 6 standard, right? So as far as your ability to enjoy Wi-Fi 6, which is the latest generation Wi-Fi at the moment, it's going to give you similar connection capabilities. Okay, so we talked about the similarities. Let's talk about the dissimilarities, or where does the iPhone 13 differ from the 15? The first thing I'd like to mention is the choice of colors. So this phone is available in 6 colors. I have the midnight in my hand. You will have 5 other colors to choose from. On the iPhone 15, you get a choice of 5 colors. So they're not exactly the same colors either. So if you're into that aesthetic of color choices, then that's something to point out. Besides this, you'll also find a thing called the dynamic island, which is this black notch. That's what we have on the 13, which is the old-fashioned, black notch at the top. The 15 will have the dynamic island. It has its own functionality. I'm not going to cover that obviously in this video, but that's different, right? So physically, you'll be able to tell the 15 from the 13 apart because of the dynamic island on top. Besides this, the iPhone 13 does sport a A15 chip, which is different from the iPhone 15 because that carries the A16 chip, the latest generation chip. Now, the key difference between these two chips is its ability to process graphics, right? So if you have, if you're a gamer and you do a lot of multimedia kind of stuff on your phone, the A16 chip is going to give you a better experience compared to the A15. Now, mind you, for the average user of an Apple phone, you will hardly be able to distinguish between the two. The A15 chip is no joke. It is a seriously good chip. But again, that's the main difference. If you're into graphics and gamings and that kind of stuff, then the iPhone 15, it may be a better choice for you. Now, besides this, the camera, right, on the rear side, as I mentioned, it looks the same because there is a ultra wide lens here besides the normal lens. That's what the iPhone 15 carries also. The only difference is that the iPhone 13 has a 12 megapixel camera, whereas the iPhone 15 carries a 48 megapixel camera. So the quality of the pictures that the iPhone 15 is going to take from the resolution point of view is going to be a lot better compared to this phone. Now, I think you can do your own research on it. For regular pictures on an iPhone, I think they're going to be very similar in quality. iPhones take very good pictures if you have experience with iPhones. So again, that's the main difference as far as the camera is concerned. That is a 48 megapixel camera, whereas this is a 12 megapixel camera. Both support the ultra wide lens, which is why you find these two lenses available to you. One of the feature that I think is worth mentioning is that on the iPhone 15, Apple has released a feature called crash detection, which is not available on the iPhone 13. So if that's a safety feature. So essentially what it does is, at least what I understand, is that if you are in a car accident, then the phone will detect using its sensors that the car has experienced some kind of an accident, and it's going to make the emergency authorities aware instantly. So it's going to call 911, stuff like that, for you automatically without you doing anything. And that's the kind of capability the crash detection, provides you. The 13 does not come with that feature. So I think that's a nice to have. It's not a must have, obviously, but if you care about that, then certainly something to look into for the iPhone 15. I think the battery on these phones is very important for most people. The battery actually is very similar between the two. So the video playback on the iPhone 13 is about 19 hours. On the 15, it's 20 hours. So it's only a 1 hour difference between the two as far as capability to play back video constantly. So not much of a battery difference. I think batteries on both are very strong. They're good. But yeah, a little bit of a difference there. I think the other key difference is the charging capability. So this iPhone 13 supports the Lightning, which is the old standard that Apple was supporting so far on most of its devices, till the European regulation came in, and now Apple is forced to adopt the USB-C standard. And so the newer, Apple phones or newer Apple devices are going to be all on USB-C. You'll also find it on the AirPods and other Apple products. They're all on USB-C these days. So if you have been part of the Apple ecosystem for a while, you probably have a lot of Lightning cables lying around. So you're not going to have a problem, using this phone. But if you do get the 15, you will be on the USB-C standard. So every Lightning accessory that you had basically is throwaway at that point. So that's something to bear in mind. This one is Lightning and the other one is not. I think the last point I'd like to mention as far as the dissimilarity is concerned is the brightness. So the screen brightness on this is 800 nits as it's measured. On the iPhone 15, it's 1,000 nits, so it's a 200 nits difference. To me, this is plenty good. I think that feature of higher brightness is obviously more relevant if you are going to be operating your phone outdoors, where you want the phone to be bright enough that it can show whatever it's showing in direct sunlight. So there's 200 nits difference. I think for most people, that's not going to be a major thing to look into, but that there's definitely more brightness available to you. Now, there's a trade-off, obviously, when it comes to brightness, because you do drain your battery quicker. So it's not like you're going to use it, so you're going to lower it so you can conserve the battery. And so the brightness doesn't really matter too much at that point. So okay, so who should get the 15 versus the 13? I think for those folks there, who are considering the 15 and making the extra investment, I think there are four main things you need to know why you should buy the iPhone 15 over the 13. The first one is the charging port. So this one is a Lightning port. The one on the 15 is a USB-C port. You get the dynamic island on top. On the 15, the 13 doesn't offer you that. It doesn't offer you the A16 chip, which the 15 will offer you. So this is going to be the A15 chip. And then it will give you, better camera because of the 48 megapixel camera on the rear versus this being a 12 megapixel camera. That's the main standout features in my book, why you would pay extra. So if you think those four features are a deal breaker for you, then obviously you should not go with the iPhone 13, and the 15 is a better choice for you. But for most people, like I said, those features are not really standout features. At least it was not in my book, which is why I went with the iPhone 13. So in summary, here are the main reasons why I think the iPhone 13 is a better value phone. And there are primarily 7 reasons. The first one being the overall features on this phone. So you get almost all the major features that you're going to find on the latest generation 15 on this package, on the 13. barring a few, right, which I think are not huge differences, in my opinion, for the average phone user. And then you also have the excellent performance of this phone. I think the performance on this phone is going to be almost as snappy like you expect from any Apple product. So I think performance is going to be great. You will also find the camera capabilities on this phone to be really good, especially the ultra wide lens. I think it doesn't offer you the 48 megapixel camera, but that is its only drawback, right? As far as the camera's capability and the processing and its image reproduction capability is concerned, it's going to be really, really sharp. So you can expect some really good quality, both 4K video footage as well as pictures from this phone using its camera. Obviously, you have no compromise on the front camera because they are both 12 megapixel front cameras for things such as FaceTime or taking selfies. The durability on these two phones is practically the same. They are both IP68, so you miss out at practically zero on the durability front. And these are very durable phones. Doesn't mean that you don't throw a case on. I think Apple phones do deserve a case. Most people do anyhow, but I think that's a good feature of this with that IP68 rating. And then the design on these, there's literally no difference. If you hold the two phones, like I said, the 15 and the 13 together, they're going to appear practically the same. Even the boxy shape is the same. So the XR used to be a little bit more rounded. This one is sharp edges, and that's kind of the latest design language Apple is using for its phones. So you get that with the 13. And then probably the most important reason to consider the 13 is the price, right? So there is obviously a $200 difference, the $599 versus the $799, and this is not even taking into consideration getting the phone through service providers like AT&T or Verizon or others. Because they have their own deals. And I think they will probably give you a much better deal on the iPhone 13 versus what they will give you on the 15. So those are the main reasons why I think this is a better value purchase in 2024. So if you do like the content and this video helped you, please give me a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.